Okay, we're on. So good evening, everybody, and welcome. We're going to continue our discussion of reincarnation, the secret of reincarnation, and the idea of our soul returning in various different forms. And tonight we're going to concentrate on the idea of the human soul coming back in non-human form. The possibility that we are reincarnated, but not as a person, but as an animal, or a plant, or a mineral, a rock for that matter. We find in the Kabbalistic writings clear discussion and indication of the possibility of our soul not coming back in human form a second time, but coming back in non-human form, which will make us look at our pets very differently, our dinner very differently, our garden quite differently as well. Who knows who might be there? We'll discuss this idea, and it's one that's fascinated me ever since I was a little frog, and thank you, and I've maintained that interest till today. The possibility that we could have been in non-human form, which brings up a huge amount of questions. I mean, the topic of reincarnation itself has enough fascination to it, but the idea that you could be non-human, what would that mean? What would that feel like to be reincarnated as a carrot or a horse? What does that actually mean?
I think cow.
Cow?
You put through
Yeah, that's right. Who is it on your plate? What does it mean? What are you supposed to do if you're currently a carrot or a cow? Do you know this? Are you aware of this?
What's the purpose?
And what's the purpose? What's the point? We spoke last week about the idea of reincarnation in Jewish tradition as being different to other traditions in that it is purposeful, meaning that there is a reason to be reincarnated. And in fact, it is to your benefit to be reincarnated. It's a blessing. The Kabbalists actually pointed out that the word for reincarnation in Hebrew is gilgul, which means a cycle, to cycle back. And that word, like every Hebrew word, has a numerical value. Every Hebrew letter has a number that's associated to it. The first letter, Aleph, is 1, Bet is 2, Gimel is 3. And so Gilgul is Gimel Lamed, Gimel Vav Lamed, which adds up to 72, which 72 is the same as the word Chesed, which means kindness, loving kindness. And so the mystics say that Gilgul is Chesed, that the idea of reincarnation is God's kindness to us. It shouldn't be looked at as a punishment that God is trying to afflict us for the wrong that we've done. It's a kindness that is given to us for us to be able to fix our wrongdoings or the lack of good from a previous life. It's a kindness. Yeah. So in that, with that in mind, being reincarnated as an animal, well, how is this a kindness to me? If I'm a human being, I'm able to fulfill my mission that I wasn't able to do last time. The mitzvah that I didn't manage to do, the mission that I had that I shied away from, I can do it next time. Like we saw last week, you put in the same situation in a different time, a different place, and you make the right choice rather than the wrong choice. That we can understand. But if I'm reincarnated in animal form, and certainly in plant form or mineral form, if I'm a rock, what mission can I fulfill? Who can I help? What mitzvah can I do? How can I change the world as a rock? Or as a carrot or as a cow for that matter? What can I possibly do to fulfill that mission? What mitzvah can I fulfill? So we need to examine this. We need to look into this quite deeply and understand what non-human reincarnation could actually mean. The Kabbalists say that one of the differences between being reincarnated as a person or being reincarnated as a non-human is when you're reincarnated as a person, you don't remember. You're not consciously aware of your past life or the fact that even that you had a past life. On a subconscious level, it's there. It's deeply embedded in you. But consciously, you don't have a memory of it. You can't say, oh, this is what I used to be. Whereas when you're reincarnated in non-human form, you know. You remember it. You know exactly, I'm a person and I'm now in an animal's body. You're completely aware of it at the time.
So
Which,
that means that some animals are not reincarnations or purely animals, and some animals have got the soul.
yes, yes, we wouldn't say that every animal is a reincarnation, but it's likely that the animals that we interact with, they have a more of a chance of being reincarnated. So we would assume that, and we'll see why, that an animal somewhere in the jungle that never meets a human being, unlikely to be a reincarnated soul. But the ones that we interact with, more possible that they are, but definitely not all. They're not all reincarnations. But if an animal knows its past life, it's aware of it, and a person doesn't, well, that seems completely counterintuitive. The opposite should be the case. If the whole idea here is to fulfill our mission, to get things right, to fix the wrongs of the past life, I'd like to know right now what that is, because I need to do it. This is my life's mission. So I would like to know my past life. I know the mistakes I made, so I know to avoid those mistakes and fix it this time and do it right. That's if I'm a human being. If I'm not a human being, I can't really do much. I can't fix the world. I can't correct things. So what point would there be for me to know I was a person in my past life and this is what I did, this is what and now I'm a carrot? That's useless information for me because there's nothing I can do as a carrot. So we need to understand why would God design things in such a way that this is the rules, the system of reincarnation, that as a person we have no clue what we were before, but as a non-human we know exactly what we were before. Why indeed? And we'll go into that by looking into some examples that are found in our writings of reincarnated non-human beings, and from that we'll glean the point, the meaning, the purpose of being reincarnated in that form. And we'll start with, again, a well-known biblical story. Last week we looked at the story of Noah and the flood, which is maybe the most famous biblical story of all. Possibly the second most famous biblical story is of Jonah and the whale. To be honest, there wasn't a whale. The book of Jonah describes it as a fish, a big fish. Maybe it was a whale, maybe not. It's not named as a whale, but in English, yeah. So it doesn't really fit. Although the term daga in Hebrew, fish, could be a more broad term that maybe would encompass a whale. Could have been a whale, could have been some other species. The species of fish is probably not the most important thing. What's important is the story. And this is a story that we actually read on Yom Kippur. Every year on Yom Kippur afternoon, we read the entire book of Jonah, biblical tale. And the tale goes like this, that there was a prophet and his name was Jonah. And which literally the name Yonah means a dove, the bird dove. And Jonah was given a mission. His mission was to go to the city of Nineveh, which is in current day Iraq. Back then it was Babylon. The city of Mosul today is built on the ruins of Nineveh, which was a big ancient city. So this city, God told Jonah, has lost its moral compass. They're misbehaving. They are not worthy of survival. This big metropolis, it's going to be destroyed. I'm going to destroy that city. Unless you, Jonah, go and speak to the people of Nineveh and tell them to repent, to change their ways. That's the job of a prophet. The primary job of a prophet was to inspire people to do the right thing. And so I want you to go and inspire them to change their ways. This is your role. This is your job. Which is interesting, a Jewish prophet going to a non-Jewish city to inspire the people. So we see, like we said earlier, that this is one of the missions of the Jewish people, to inspire not just our own, but the world to live in a moral and upright way. Jonah was reluctant to fulfill this. He did not want to do it. The various commentaries in the Talmudic tradition talk about why he didn't want to do it. One of the reasons they suggest is he was scared of success, that he knew that he probably could inspire the people of Nineveh to change their ways, and that would reflect badly on the Jewish people because they never listened to him. Jonah, as a Jewish prophet, would speak to the masses of Jews in Israel, and they always ignored him. Like, don't tell us what to do. A Jewish crowd is sometimes very difficult. But he knew that he might be successful there, and that would reflect really badly on the Jewish people. And he didn't want that. He didn't want to bring out the negative and the bad of his own people. That's one explanation. Others say that he's not going to be listened to. He was scared that, why should they listen to me? Whatever it was, he was reluctant to fulfill his mission. He did not want to do it. So Jonah ran away. And the way he did that was he got on a ship that left the port of Jaffa, the port city till today, and it was going to a place called Tarshish, somewhere else in the Middle East, Mediterranean area. And by doing that, he was running away from prophecy, because he knew that prophecy only really comes in the Holy Land of Israel. When I leave the Holy Land, I'm not going to have that prophecy anymore, so God will leave me alone. I'm not a prophet anymore, because he didn't want to do his mission. So he ran away. He went on the ship. And what happened on the ship was that a storm arose, and the ship was being bounced left, right, and center, and it was looking like it was going to go under. And all the people on the ship were praying to their various gods. He was the only Jewish guy on the ship, and he went and slept in the bottom of the ship, trying to just ignore what was going on. They said to him, "Why aren't you praying? You should pray too." So, in the end, through various means, it was worked out that this whole storm was happening because of Jonah. This was God saying, "You can't run away from me," and Jonah admitted that. And he said, "You could throw me overboard and you'll be fine." They didn't want to do it. They were reluctant to do this, but in the end, they did. And they threw Jonah overboard. The water stopped immediately. Its tempest, it calmed, and the seas were completely like nothing had happened. And Jonah sank down into the ocean. And what happened next was a little bit surprising, unless you've read the story before, that he was swallowed by a fish. A big fish came and swallowed Jonah up. And he spent 3 days and 3 nights, says the book of Jonah, in the belly of the fish. And from the belly of this fish, he called out to God. He called out to God to save him. And after 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of a fish, he was saved. The fish spat him up on dry land. There have been a couple of stories in the news of similar stories. One quite recently, not for 3 days and 3 nights, somebody being swallowed by a killer whale, I think it was, and spat up, and he survived that. There is another story of somebody spending a longer time from the 1920s, I think. If you research it, you'll find there's such stories. People say it could happen. But either way, whether it's a natural occurrence or supernatural occurrence, he was spat up on dry land after 3 days and 3 nights. And at that stage, Jonah said, "Maybe I'd better just do what God asked me to do. I've just got to go to Nineveh." And he went to Nineveh, and he set up a soapbox or whatever it was. He started giving speeches to the people of Nineveh saying, "You're going to be destroyed. You've gone the wrong way. You need to change your ways." And they did. They listened to him. He had an incredible influence on this city, and they did listen to him, and they did repent, and the city was saved thanks to Jonah. That is, in a nutshell, the story of Jonah. And we read this on Yom Kippur afternoon, of all times. On Yom Kippur, we read this story. What's the connection to Yom Kippur? Well, I mean, the most obvious one is the Yom Kippur, the day of repentance. That's what Yom Kippur is the day of forgiveness, of repentance. And so we read a story of how an entire city turned around and was transformed. You can repent. Even a city that has gone astray, an entire city doesn't have to be destroyed. It can repent. It can turn around. Our fate is in our hands. It's inspiring for Yom Kippur. Not only that, but one person turned around the whole city. One righteous person came and was able to inspire an entire city. So even if you think that you're the only one in town, okay, so you can turn people around. You can inspire others. It is a beautiful tale that has a very direct connection to Yom Kippur. But the mystics, the Kabbalists, add another layer to this story, and another deeper connection to Yom Kippur. Because on Yom Kippur, what we really are meditating and contemplating about is our mission. that we're here with a mission. Just like Jonah was here to fulfill the mission, he was given a specific mission. You've got a city that is your responsibility. You've got to turn it around. So to each one of us, we all have a part of the world that it is our job to illuminate, to inspire, to bring light to turn it around. For some, it's an entire city, like Jonah. Some people have the level of influence to turn around an entire population. That's their power, that's their gift that they're given, and that's what they got to do. For others, maybe it's not so many people, maybe it's not an entire city, but you've certainly got a little corner of the world that you can influence. You've got your own family and your own friends and your own circle of influence that you can bring light to. And your job is to do that, to utilize your energy and your powers to do that. You've been given a soul, and your soul has been given a particular talents and a certain amount of divine power that is there to share. And so whoever you're coming into contact with and whatever your little world is, you're there to bring light into that world. And so you're also Jonah. You're also a Jonah with a mission. And in fact, the word Jonah, meaning a dove, is one of the descriptions of the soul. It says that the soul is like a dove. It says the doves are monogamous. The dove, they partner for life. They stay with each other and they're loyal and they partner for life, the male and the female doves. And so too, our soul has a life connection to God. Our soul is madly in love with God, just like God is madly in love with our soul. And we'll never give that up. Our soul is always connected to God. This is your Jonah. This is your soul that you've been given. And you have this beautiful, innocent power, this beautiful dove that is here to bring light to the world. The problem is we run away. Like Jonah did, we run away from our mission. The problem is that we don't believe in ourselves. We don't recognize the power that we have. We're not aware of this. We don't believe it. We don't think we can change anybody else. We're struggling with ourselves, let alone somebody else. And then we don't think we can change ourselves, and we don't think we can change another person. We don't believe that we have that power, or we're scared of our power. We're worried. What if I'm successful? What'll that look like? What'll that mean? We don't tap into the power that we have, and we run away from it in various ways. How do we run away? We run away with other distractions, with just getting on with life. You know, the mystics say like the ship represents like the physical body, like a ship is like a vessel, and so we jump into the body, the physical, to try and just distract ourselves. We say, "Oh, look, I'm here in this world for a short amount of time. I'm not a holy person. I'm not this righteous people. There are other people who like that. I've just got to get on with my life, sail my ship through the ocean, make a living, and do what I need to do." We avoid fulfilling our mission. We run away from our mission, but it never works. Running away from your mission never works, because it's your mission, because this is what you're here to do, because you have a gift that only you can give, and you're robbing the world of that and yourself of that. Your fulfillment is dependent on this, on bringing light to the world. And by running away and avoiding it and just living a mediocre life, it's not going to work in the end. The storms are going to come. The ship is going to rock. You're not going to be able to stay there. And so it simply can't work. And so Jonah is the story of our soul coming into a world with a mission, and we try to run away from it. But one way or another, we're going to fulfill our mission. And here's where the Kabbalists add a new dimension to this story. What happened to Jonah? He was thrown overboard, went under the water, and got swallowed by a fish. We could look at this story on that literal level, that a miracle happened. You know, if you go underwater, usually that's the end. You're swallowed by a fish, so that's no better. Spending 3 days in the belly of a fish, we're not expecting much after that. Miraculously, he was spat up on dry land. He survived it. And like many survivors of a miracle, that's when you sort of think something bigger is going on here. You know, why was I spared? Why did I make it through this? It must be that I've got something to bring to the world, and I need to do that. And so he went on and did it. You could look at it that way. But the Kabbalists say you could also look at it on a more mystical level, that this is a story of reincarnation. That Jonah went overboard, and that was the end of Jonah. in that lifetime. But he was swallowed by a fish, meaning the Jonah, the soul, went into the belly of a non-human, of a fish. Not just the literal sense that it was swallowed and eaten by a fish, but Jonah died, and his soul was then reincarnated in a fish. What's the point of that? What happens now? If you're spending times in the belly of the fish, what do you do? So we said, the Kabbalists teach us, when you're in a non-human form, you are absolutely aware of that fact. You know that I'm a human soul in a non-human body. Jonah was in the belly of the fish calling out to God because he knew this is me, my soul is now stuck in a fish. Now, fish are wonderful beings, and they can be very beautiful, and they fulfill their mission by being a fish. That's their mission. But fish do not have free choice. They don't have the ability to do good or evil. They can only follow their instincts. Like all other life forms apart from the human being, they are instinctive beings. So when a fish eats another fish, it's not being mean, it's not being cruel, it's doing its survival thing. That's what it does. When a fish gives birth to another fish, it's not an act of love or selflessness. It's doing its instinctive thing. It's reproducing. A fish doesn't do good or doesn't do evil because it doesn't have free choice. A fish cannot say, I've lived my life like this for so many years. I want to change and do it differently. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm sick of this school that I'm a part of. I'm going to find a better school that I don't like their behavior. I want to find a better crowd. Fish don't do that. They don't make a choice, a conscious choice. They have a brain, like every animal has a brain, but that brain is to serve their instincts. So, and this is not true, not just fish, any other animal. They can have great intelligence, but that intelligence is merely to serve their natural instincts. So they can judge distances very well, and they can make decisions between this way or that way. What's the safest way to run? They can make those type of decisions. But free choice doesn't just mean choosing how I can survive. Free choice means I can go against my nature. I can do good even when I'm not in the mood of it. I can do something that I purely choose, not that I'm being pushed by my nature, but I'm choosing to do it. That only a human being can do. No animal can do that. Now, of course, you could tell me, well, there are animals that save people's lives, there's guide dogs, and there's army dogs that go in and risk them. Yes, of course, they do good, but again, that's not choice. That's their training. They're trained to do that, and the way they're trained is by directing the nature of that animal. It's got an instinct of survival and of protection. If you can direct that protection to protecting its owners, so then it's following its instincts in the same way as it would for its own puppies or wherever it is. So it's not a choice. It can't be called a choice. This is not belittling animals. On the contrary, animals fulfill their mission. They do exactly what they're created to do. There is no animal in history that didn't fulfill its mission. That's its mission. Its mission is to fulfill its instincts. And therefore, we can't describe an animal as being cruel, nasty, evil. It's protecting itself, or it's protecting its young, or it's finding food for itself. That's what they do. That's its mission. That's what it's supposed to do. We can't call it cruel. We also can't call the animal as being kind or altruistic. It may do a good deed. It may save someone, but again, that's its instincts. It's following its instincts. It's not an innate free choice. So why would a person find their soul in an animal form as a reincarnation? Why would Jonah, who didn't fulfill his mission, now find himself in the form of a fish who can't fulfill Jonah's mission, doesn't have free choice. But at the same time, Jonah knows he's a fish. He's totally aware that this is who I am now. This is my position. So here the Kabbalists say a fascinating idea. The experience of being a human being in a non-human form is experiencing what it's like to not utilize your soul powers because you can't. And that is to teach you an appreciation of what it means to be able to fulfill your soul powers when you could. Again, Jonah in human form ran away from his mission. He had power to change a city, which we know because the end of the story is he did. So he could inspire an entire city, could turn it around, but he ran away from that mission. That was a choice. That was free choice. And every human being can choose to run away from their mission and not do what they're supposed to do. We can do that. Unlike the animal that's going to use its instincts and what it's created for, the human being can avoid our mission and choose the wrong thing, choose not to do it, which is what Jonah did. But God wants Jonah to have another chance. First, before having another chance in human form, he needs to learn the lesson of what it means to not fulfill your powers. And there's no greater way to do that than to experience being a human soul in an animal, because there you cannot express your powers. Imagine the frustration of having the mind and the awareness and the talents and abilities of a human being, but you're confined in the body of an animal. The animal cannot express the talents that the human being does. They can't express that in their conscious self, in their active self. They can't do it. First of all, because they don't have the intellectual capacity, but even more than that, they don't have the freedom of choice. So they can do nothing. If you're an animal in an animal body, that fits and you're fine and you're fulfilling your will. And that's why we find that animals seem to be getting on fine. We don't find animals going through midlife crisis. We don't find animals with identity crisis, not knowing who they are, what they're there for. We don't find animals needing group therapy or needing a hand. Of course, I mean today I'm sure there are plenty of therapists for animals. I have no doubt that people do take their animals to therapy, but if you ask the animal, I'm just getting on with my life. Every animal knows who they are and what they're here for. People, we're never sure. We're so complicated. We're not sure what am I in this world for? What am I here? And we're here for years and years and years, and then we think, but have I done anything? Have I fulfilled any of my mission? Am I using any of my potential? Have I been going the wrong direction this whole time? We constantly think this over and over. We're such complicated beings. That's how we are. And within that complication and all that complex nature that we have, we can reinvent ourselves and we can say, I'm going to try something new, and I'm going to go on a new path, and I'm going to extend myself and utilize whatever potential I have. We have that power to do that. An animal doesn't have that. They're simple in their clarity. They know what I'm here to do, and they just do it. But that simplicity, imagine having the complexity of a human soul in the simplicity of an animal body. It's the most frustrating thing in the world because you can't do anything. And you know where you came from, and you know what you were supposed to do and that you didn't do it, and you can't do it. That experience is a big learning experience for the soul. When I had the chance to do it, I squandered it. And now I know what it is and I can't do it. And at the same time, so on the one hand, a human in an animal form is feeling that frustration of not being able to fulfill my human mission. But also you're experiencing what it's like to just do what you're supposed to do. Like an animal does. Animals, they do what the animal's supposed to do. If I'm a person, I'm a human soul. but I am in a carrot or a cow or a rock. So what am I experiencing? The frustration of having human powers that cannot be expressed, but also the fulfillment of being a non-human that just does exactly what God created it to do. What's a rock's job? Just sit there. Just be and be. That's a rock's mission. Why did God create rocks? That's what they're supposed to do. And what's a carrot supposed to do? Just grow in the ground, do your roots, do what you got to do, take in the minerals of the soil. That's it. That's a carrot does exactly what it's supposed to do. There's no rebellious carrot in the world. And a cow does its thing. It chews its grass. It produces the milk. It just does what a cow does. So there's an incredible learning experience that our soul has in being non-human. First of all, I can't fulfill the powers that I had. And second of all, this is what it means to just do what you're supposed to do. This is what Jonah's soul was experiencing in the fish, in the belly of the fish. Fish just swims around doing what it's supposed to do. But I can't lift the world. I can't change the world. I can't transform the world. And so then that soul, after you get the message in fish form, you got it. You feel now. What do you feel? I just want to do my mission. I just want to fulfill what I'm here to do. Like the fish does what it's supposed to do, I want to be the person that does what the person's supposed to do. Are you ready now? Then you can be spat up on dry land. Then Jonah's soul could leave the fish and be reincarnated as a human again. Come back on dry land. And so the story continues that Jonah then gets up and says, okay, I better go to Nineveh. I better do what I'm here to do. And he goes and does it. Because he had the fish experience, now he's determined to do what he needs to do. But there's a big problem with that. There's a big question on that story. We said earlier, when you're reincarnated as a human, you don't remember your past. When you're reincarnated as a non-human, you remember, you're aware. So we, as we sit here as human beings, we don't remember what we used to be. But the reincarnated carrot and fish down the road, they know what they are. They know that they're a human. So Jonah, when he was in the fish, he knew, I'm a person with a mission and I can't do it. But when he was reincarnated back on dry land, he's forgotten that. So that's all disappeared. So what does it help? You and I could have also been a fish last time. But I don't remember that. So what does it help me to learn a lesson as a fish and then come back as a human and forget everything we've learned? The Talmud says that when we are in our mother's womb, there's a light shining above our head that we can see from one end of the world to the other, which the Kabbalists explain what that means is that pre-birth, before we're born into this world, we can see from one end of the world to, meaning from one end of history to the other, from the beginning of time to the end of time, we can see the whole big picture. We know where we came from. We know where we're going. We know what our mission is. In the womb, the baby's soul is aware of everything, knows exactly what its soul came from and what its soul mission is in this world. That's in the womb. And during that time, there's an angel that teaches the baby the entire Torah. We have all the wisdom of the world, all the divine wisdom. We know exactly what our mission is. We have it all. And then just before birth, the angel taps us on the lip. And by doing that, makes us forget everything. And so we're born into this world and we forgot it all. So we don't know our previous reincarnation. We don't know all that wisdom we had. We don't know what our mission is. We don't know what the end of the story is. We're just a little kid, just get like, just tell us we know nothing. So again, well, what's the point of that? What's the point in giving us all this wisdom, giving us all this insight and vision and teaching us, and then we forget it? What's the point of that? So the Baal Shem Tov and all the great mystics explain this idea and say, we forget it, but we also don't forget it. We forget all that wisdom on a conscious awareness type of level, but it's imprinted in our soul to the point where it's there. And so we're more prone to that wisdom when we're born, that when we see it, it'll be familiar. That when we learn it, it'll ring a bell. It's like a song that you heard years ago and you've completely forgotten it, but when you hear it, you remember it straight away. So to all that wisdom, all that vision, it's imprinted in our soul. So when we study the wisdom, it makes sense to us. That's why we learn the whole Torah before we're born. And that's why very often when we learn deep ideas in the Torah, it resonates. How do we know it's true? Because we just know it's true. Because we've heard that before. We heard it in the womb.
Sometimes like you go to a place, like you're traveling
Mm.
and you go somewhere and you feel like you kind of like just know that
Familiar.
you've been there,
Mm-hmm.
but you know that you haven't been
That's
there.
right.
But
Correct.
you just feel like something.
Correct. So it's there. It's deep down we remember it all. Just it's not on a conscious level. Yeah. So the same applies with all of our pre-life experiences, that they're all imprinted on us and they all have an influence on us. They're there on subconscious level. So if you ask me, what's your life mission, your particular life mission based on your past life, I don't know. I have no idea. I know that I'm in this world to bring goodness, to do another mitzvah, to bring light to the world. That I know in a general sense. I know that's what I've got to do. But what's the particular mitzvah I need to do? What's the particular thing that I need to correct? Who's the person that I need to make peace with or make amends with or pay back? Or I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know on a conscious level, but it is imprinted on me. I learned it when I was in the womb. I was given that insight when I was in the womb. I knew exactly, I remembered my past life then. I knew where I need to go now. I know I saw from one end of the world to the other then. And then I forgot it on a conscious level, but it's imprinted on me. So therefore it's going to influence me. Like there are so many layers within us that are influencing our choices and our decisions and our taste in things and what we like and what we don't like and the people we hang around with and the people we connect with and these ones we avoid. Why? There's so much going on that we're not aware of. But that's just in the brain. Here we're going into the soul. The soul has even more layers. And so the people that I gravitate towards, it's because I have a soul connection with that person. And there's some soul relationship that we need to fix something there. The people that I avoid, also there's some work that my soul knows I need to do with that. And maybe it's avoiding them. Maybe that's what I need to do. We can try to work it out. But our soul is pushing us in the direction where we need to go. And that's because we have it. All that information is stored within us. And so it pushes us towards where our mission is. So we haven't really forgotten. And that also includes the past lives that we may have had, including the non-human versions. The experiences that we had in those past lives, we're not consciously aware of them. We can't recall life as a fish. But the lesson that we learned from being a fish is imprinted on our soul. The message that was supposed to come to us because of this particular experience, that we do have deep within us. So, so going back to Jonah, in his first life, he didn't fulfill his mission. He was supposed to change the city. He didn't change the city. He didn't do it. So then he was a fish. And as a fish, he knew what he was supposed to do that he didn't do. So what's next? What does he do now? I'm a fish, and I know what I was, but I can't do anything about it. That frustration caused like an imprint on his soul that we need to fulfill our mission. We need to do what we're here to do. I can't do it as a fish, and I didn't do it last time. And that hurt and frustration, I've got to do it next time. And then he's sped up on dry land. And he forgets that on a conscious level, but he's a changed soul. There's something in his soul that pushes him further. I'm more determined this time to fulfill my mission than I was last time. Why? I don't know. Do you know what your mission is? I don't know. But he was pushed. He was pushed. Some in the deep subterranean levels of his soul, there was something pushing him. He was much more determined this time. I'm gonna get it right this time.
It might be a call.
Yes.
Something innate.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. A deep feeling of calling, of mission, of purpose.
What if we never get that feeling?
Yeah.
Or you don't recognize this.
Look, there are many different ways that our calling can come out. In some cases, it could be. No, sure. Kenzo. It can come out in dramatic ways, and it can come out in very non-dramatic, calm, peaceful ways. Sometimes our mission, like Jonah, is to turn a city around. It's a big calling. It's a big dramatic thing, and so it had to come through in a very overwhelming way. But not all missions are so dramatic. It could be much more modest and just as important. The Baal Shem Tov said that a soul could come down into this world for 70 or 80 years just to do one favor. There was one good deed that you came down to do. That was it. And that was your mission. So did it require a sense of calling, a big sense of mission? Not necessarily. There was just one guy who came and said, could you do me a favor? And you could have said, I'm busy now. But he said, okay, I'll do it. It was just that one little moment. It's a bit scary to think that. Like, oh my goodness, like how many people do we, push off or like say, not now, or, I can't do it now. Okay, well, remember, Gilgal is chesed. Reincarnation is all kindness. Like God is here to help us. He's not trying to get us. He's not trying to trick you. So he'll set everything up that you can do it. And if you do it at that time, you'll get another chance to do it. But like, you don't know when that moment is going to be.
You don't know what you're supposed to do, and you just plod on forever.
Well, none of us know what we're supposed to do. We just know we're supposed to do good, in general. That we know.
Jonah knew he had to do X, Y, Z, but you and I might not know.
Well, in a way, God speaks to all of us. A prophet is somebody that God talks to. You hear a voice, and you have a mission and a message. That's again a very demonstrative, dramatic version of it. But we all have divine voices speaking to us. First of all, we have the Torah that directs us. The Torah gives us the guidelines. And your life and my life and every person's life and every person's day is different. But the divine mission is the same. How can you apply those mitzvahs to your situation? What's your mitzvah opportunity today? What is the good deed that you can do that I couldn't do it because I wasn't in your circumstance? So we by filling ourselves with Torah wisdom and by looking at every mitzvah opportunity that we can do, we're going to fulfill our mission. You can't go wrong. That way you can't go wrong. That we know in a general sense. But particularly, there's going to be a mitzvah that is a bit challenging to you. We've got to work on that one. It's interesting. The Kabbalists say both ways, that there's good deeds that we gravitate towards, and there's good deeds that we find challenging, that press our buttons, right? So some people may find prayer very enjoyable, and they like going to shul, they like davening, they're into that. But they might find giving tzedakah, giving charity, I find it difficult, So what's my mission? Well, it could be a bit of both. The thing you're attracted to and the thing you're challenged by. The ones that are in between are less likely to be your particular mission. We have to do every mitzvah. But the one that you gravitate towards, well, that's something that your soul has. But there's also the one that you find difficult. That's the one that you need to overcome. That's the challenge you need to work on. And so we each have different areas. But again, if God was out to trick us, so then we'd have to be really careful. If he was really out to get us, so he's going to give us a mitzvah that is really hard for us, and we don't realize it, and we're going to mess it up, and he'll say, gotcha. We don't believe that. God is out for our correction. He's giving us free choice. He's making it challenging. So you might not do your mission if you're not putting effort in. You'll miss it. We have free choice. But God is giving us opportunities. He's feeding it to us, saying, "Here, look, I've given you the direction. This is what your life is about. This is the mitzvahs you need to do. I'm giving you the opportunities. Here's the person who you can help. Here's the mitzvah that you can do. Just go." But there is going to be a resistance. The powers of negativity, of evil in the world, balance out our free choice, and so we have an inner voice that always tries to push us away from doing a mitzvah and doing good. Like Jonah, running away from his mission. Why did he do that? Because we all do that. Because we all have this inner voice that says you're not good enough. You're not a holy person. You can't do this. You can't change the world. You can't. We have that inner voice. That's our challenge. That's what we have to overcome. So we need to listen into those voices and think. So what presses my buttons? What is my challenge? What's the thing that I need to work on? And sometimes we put things in the too hard basket. If there's too much resistance, too difficult, so it's too hard, just maybe the opposite. Maybe the thing that's hard for you, that's exactly where you need to go. That's exactly what you need to face. That's a great example. That's right. Well, it is like that because soulmates, what are soulmates? It's you're given the person who will press your buttons. Exactly who will press your buttons. Of all the people in the whole universe, you're attracted because we've got so much in common and we are so much alike, and that's what gets you into it. And then as you get to know each other, it's along with that, there's so much that exactly challenges me and exactly puts me in my place and makes me need to rethink and learn, and So again, do you put that in the too hard basket? I like the parts that I get on with. The bits that challenge me, I'd like to erase that. Let's just delete those bits. You can try that, but it's not going to get very far.
So in today's world, you just get divorced. It's so much easier than trying to rectify.
Correct. There is, and you see too difficult, too hard, just move on. Or you say, no, this is what we have to lean into. We have to, let's face these exact things, because that's the gift. It says about Adam and Eve, that Eve was a helpmate against him. A helpmate against him. That's what Eve was, to help you by being against you.
Yeah, more.
It sounds like it, but no, that's the help. The help is by opposing you.
To shape you.
Correct, to challenge you. Yeah. So marriage is a good example, and ultimately the whole world is a marriage of the spiritual and the physical. You're given a soul and a body, and they are exact opposites. Your soul has this mission, and your body will resist that mission. will try and distract you from that mission, pull you away from it. But it's to help you. It's not, they're not really against each other. It's to help you work on that mission, go deeper. So Jonah, when he was running away from his mission, what was happening? The soul was flying away, wasn't leaning in, wasn't facing the challenge. So it needed to learn the lesson of, you've got these beautiful powers, this incredible power to bring light to the world, and you're wasting it. You're running away from it. This is your mission. So see what it feels like to be in a form where you cannot fulfill your powers. That's as a fish. You can't do anything. And that imprinted on his soul a determination, I've got to do it this time. So when he came back the next time in human form, he did what he needed to do. So the Kabbalists say this is why we read this on Yom Kippur. We read this story because Yom Kippur, we're meditating on our powers that we have and the mission that we come into this world to fulfill. And we think about, when we think about our sins on Yom Kippur, it's not to beat ourselves up. It's to say, why am I wasting my energy on these things? Why am I running in the wrong direction? Running off on this ship? Like, I've got these powers to do good in the world. And I'm going to do it one way or the other. In the end, every soul fulfills its mission, one way or the other. This lifetime or the next lifetime. And it might need a bit of massaging and a bit of learning and a bit of experiences in other life forms to get there. But you're going to get there in the end, because every soul in the end fulfills its mission. So why waste time? Do it now. Fulfill your mission now. Don't run away from it. Embrace it. Take it on. Think about the difficult conversation you have to have and the difficult mission and project that you have to take on and the difficult work you have to do with yourself. Take it on.
Can a rock, for example, you mentioned rock or fish, have a soul?
Yeah. So definitely a rock, a fish, a carrot, they all have souls. But there's a rock soul. Sounds like some music. There's a carrot soul and there's an animal soul, right? They're different. They're different to human beings, right? Like we said, a human being has free choice. A plant, animal, mineral does not have free choice. An animal has a higher soul than a plant. They have a more of an awareness and more lively than a plant. A plant just grows and but it has a certain level of awareness and soul, and that plant has more than a rock. The Kabbalah said that a rock has a soul. We today, from a scientific perspective, we would agree with that. There is movement in a rock. There's vibration in a rock. There's something going on. It doesn't have a soul in the sense of a personality, maybe like a human, but there is. It's a living being. Even a rock is a living being. But in the terminology of the Jewish philosophers, the rock is called a domem, which means a silent entity. It doesn't express its life in any way, but there's vibration within it. So that's the lowest life form, and the plant is higher, and an animal is higher, and then the human is higher than that. Any plant, animal, mineral has life and has soul in it. Some have a person soul in it. And so when we're eating our breakfast, or lunch or dinner or a snack or whatever we're consuming. So we have an opportunity at that time to help possibly a soul. Because in my carrot that I'm eating, so whether that carrot has a human soul or not, that carrot cannot change the world on its own. That carrot cannot make the world better. It also can't make the world worse. Carrots just do what they do. They don't transform the world in a positive or negative way. They don't go against God's will. They just do what they're supposed to do. But that doing what they're supposed to do doesn't improve the world, just maintains it, just does its thing. But when I eat that carrot, the carrot becomes the energy that I've consumed. I can change the world by doing a good deed. I can do something selfless and kind, and I'm doing it energized by that carrot, which gives that carrot the opportunity to do a mitzvah. I've lifted that carrot to the human form. It's become a part of me. And the moves that I make as a result will lift the carrot, or the opposite. If I utilize the energy of that carrot to do something selfish and evil and immoral, I have demoted the carrot to lower than a carrot, because carrots are fine. They never hurt anybody, and I do. And I've taken the carrot's energy and done that. But if I do something good, I've lifted the carrot to something better than a carrot could ever be. And if there happens to be a incarnated soul of a human stuck in that carrot, I've helped it out, because that person in the carrot can't fix itself, but I can fix him.
So our pets are likely to have human souls.
Could be, could be.
But you said that they're like
Yeah, more likely than an animal out there. Yeah.
Purpose, yes. And them helping us, we're helping them.
Yeah, and that could also yes, correct. So yep, the animals around us, they can certainly help.
So I was taught things like carrots and rocks don't have a soul until you become a human like we are. But when you don't fulfill what you're supposed to, you don't go backwards to being a carrot or whatever. You stay on the same level. If you improve your learnedness, etc., 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 you go up a level, another plane, as they call it, until you've reached maybe, is it 7 planes, and then you know
Well,
what I'm talking about?
It could be that what determines your level of reincarnation is your behavior in your lifetime. So if I live my life like a rock, meaning I'm a human being, but I don't care about anybody else. I'm heartless and like a rock. If that's the way I've lived, so then maybe I need to be a rock. I need to experience what it's like to be a rock. And you're a human. A rock is doing what it's supposed to do as a rock, but you're a human. You're not supposed to be a rock. So feel the lack, the void of what it means to be a rock by experiencing being a rock. If I was a plant, plants are a little bit more lively than rocks. They do interact somewhat with their surroundings. They give off oxygen, and they're a bit more a part of the cycle of life. Rocks are necessary as well, but like in a very sedimentary way. So then if I lived like a plant, I wasn't a rock, but I was a plant. So then I need to be a plant. And if I was an animal, which is probably more common, what's an animal? Again, an animal is someone who just protects itself, feeds itself, looks after itself, does what it needs to do. Many people live that way, an animalistic life. I follow my instincts. I do what I feel like. If I'm in the mood, I do it. If I'm not in the mood, I don't do it. I do what makes me feel good, what increases my self-confidence, self-worth. That's what an animal does. And that's fine for an animal. An animal's supposed to do that. And even when an animal does care for its young or its fat, it's doing it because that's its instinct, it's survival, So a person can also do that. You can live a very nice, comfortable life. You're not a mean person, a decent person, but not selfless, nothing selfless, nothing altruistic. That's an animal life. If you live an animal life, so then you need to be reincarnated as an animal to experience what it means to be a human soul that's just living like an animal. So you have to go back and fix it again to not be that way. So we have the opportunity in our human form, being that that's what we are currently, so we can fix not only our previous mistakes, we also can actually fix other people who are stuck. The food that ends on my plate, the food that ends up in front of me to eat, that's also not by accident. You go to the pantry, what am I in the mood of now? And you take out some corn thins and peanut butter. That's what you're in the mood in right now. Why that? Why are you in the mood of that? What made you in the mood of that right now? Could be that in that peanut and in that corn kernel was a soul that you need to fix. And so your urge to eat that was specific to that particular corn thin and that peanut in that peanut butter. That's why you're in the mood of it right now. And if you find you're in the mood of chocolate a lot, so then maybe there's a lot of souls in these chocolates that I need to help. They're waiting for me. I can't let them down. I have to eat all this chocolate. So our particular tastes, our particular moods, all that. Okay, you can explain it. This is my taste bud, you know, and this is what the Baal Shem Tov, the great mystic, said, your food cravings are your soul cravings. Your soul is saying, I need to fix this. I need to fix this. And it could be just because this is a part of creation that I need to fix. It doesn't have to be a reincarnated soul. There could be just a peanut. It could just be a peanut. But I have to fix that peanut. That's my peanut to fix. There's a part of the world that is there for me to fix. So I need to eat it and use its energy to do good. But another layer to that story is, but there could be a soul there that is somehow connected to your soul. Somehow in the soul families, in our roots in heaven, there are certain souls that are connected, and there might be a soul that's connected to you. And you're doing it a favor. But it's only doing it a favor if you do it right. You eat permissible, kosher. You say a blessing. Identify the divine power in it by saying a blessing. Utilize the energy that you're taking in to do good things, to do another mitzvah, to do holy things. Then I'm lifting a part of creation and possibly saving souls.
Nuts.
It is. It's totally nuts to think about that.
So if you're not kosher, you don't live a life of that level of spirituality. Or if you don't know to live that level of spirituality, are you not helping out the soul?
Well, there's nobody who doesn't eat anything kosher. Right? There's no such thing as, you know, it's impossible to eat a diet that's completely not kosher. There are parts that are not kosher, the parts that are kosher. And so there are those things that are being lifted and connected and lifted up. And also, I mean, obviously every person is on their own spiritual journey and their own state of, you know, awareness and understanding. And in each lifetime, there's different things that we need to correct. But the carrot is a carrot. The carrot's kosher. Question on the chat. I've been told that a Jew wouldn't come back as a rock that has no purpose, but one that would get used to build a shul, for example. Yeah. So that's a good example that because a rock also can participate in our surroundings and do a mitzvah as well. So yeah, to be a rock in the middle of, you know, the Himalayas that nobody ever meets, that would be a very unfortunate incarnation and unlikely. It's more likely that you'd be a rock that somebody would either build into a shul or even step on the way to doing a mitzvah. If I step on the rock on the way to doing a mitzvah, the rock helped me. I couldn't get there without it. If the rock wasn't there, I'd be falling into a hole. So every rock, every piece of sand that is there is a part of my mitzvah that I'm doing. If I'm going to do a good deed. But if I'm going to do something immoral, so then the rock says, what are you stepping on me for? You're stepping on me? It's disrespectful. Because you're behaving worse than me. When you're doing something immoral, so you're not fulfilling your mission. I'm a rock. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. A rock is just supposed to be a rock. I'm fulfilling my mission. You had no right to step on me if you're not fulfilling the mission. So not only is it a part of a shul, just being a part of the pathway, our footpath, it's doing what it's supposed to do. We've got to do what we're supposed to do. And the same with all of our food. What right do we have to kill an animal and eat it? And for that matter, what right do we have to pick an apple off a tree and eat it? Or chop a carrot in half and eat it? Or walk on a rock? Or drink water? What right do we have to do this to other living beings? They're all alive.
But if we're here to help us and you do it in a positive way.
Then yes, if we are fulfilling the human mission, and that is to bring light and goodness into the world, to do more holy and good things, to do another mitzvah, another good deed. If that's what we're doing, if that's what our energy is being used for, we have every right and every responsibility to eat those life forms who cannot do it themselves. They can't do a mitzvah on their own. They need us to do it. They are begging for us to do it. If you would ask them, they would want it. That's what they want. But if we're not living a meaningful, elevated life, if we're just being selfish beings, we're instinctive beings like an animal, if I'm living like an animal, I have no right to eat an animal or a plant or a mineral or step on a rock.
My wife has a little cockroach. Now, if I take its life, help my wife. And you know,
How can you insert-
Yes.
so you're allowed to go out and kill a cockroach. Yeah, those are their pests. No.
So if we are doing that in order to alleviate pain, suffering, anguish, discomfort, for for health reasons as well, there are certain insects that bring diseases, or could sting, or so then there's a reason for it. To just go around killing, we don't do it. We don't look to kill.
You know, cockroaches, they're very carrying disease, they've been in the house.
And that cause discount, if that cockroach is going in your kitchen and your food, you're not going to be very happy, So there's reason. There is reason for that. And it could be, I was thinking a lot about insects. Like there are so many of them. Or summertime in Bondi, and like flies, and so they could all be a lot of corrections or a lot of souls. I sometimes notice, like in shul, like a fly will come onto the siddur. It's trying to reconnect. This is a soul trying to reconnect, trying to come back. So we can just give it a blessing. Say it's all fine. You're corrected. I'll pray for you, and let it move on. It does say, the Kabbalists say that an arrogant person will be reincarnated as a bee, because bees follow the leader. Like they have no arrogance whatsoever. They're just completely nullified to the queen bee, So you have to experience, if you're a person who's very self-important and arrogant, doesn't follow anybody, like on top of the world, okay, you need to experience the insect life of just following the queen. So we'd be better off not waiting till then. Not waiting till we have to be a fish or a bee or a carrot or any of that. We're better off utilizing our powers right now, the soul powers that we've been given, the opportunities we've been given, bring goodness to the people that are around us, and then we don't have to come back. We'll fix it this time.
After learning a certain thing in our human soul, if we go back into the non-human form to experience that, where we know what's going on, but we deny that opportunity to it.
Correct. So which answers our question that we started with. Why be reincarnated in non-human form if you can't do anything in that form? And why remember it then? Why do we remember it? Because that's the point. The point is to feel that frustration and to get it right next time.
More questions?
Yeah, sure.
This is all the case that you don't fulfill whatever mission you have. What if your soul, when you in human form, you do fulfill that mission?
If you fulfill a mission, you're ready to go. Your soul came into this world in order to do its work down here, and then once it's ready, it can move on to the next world, and there's higher realms. So you're not reincarnated. If you finish your job, you finish your job. It's only the unfinished business that you have to come back for. And there's a limit to that. It's interesting. The Kabbalists talk about how many times you reincarnated. In one place it says 3 times. Another place it says thousands of times. And it's explained that 3 times means if you just don't get it after 3 times, then you can't come back. Meaning, if you don't fulfill anything, you come into this world and you just don't fulfill. You don't advance at all. After 3 strikes, you're out. Meaning, your soul has to be cleansed in the next world. Like you've blown it down here. But that would be very rare. If you do a little bit of an advancement each lifetime, so then you can keep coming back, and it's chesed, it's kindness, it's a chance to do it again and again and again. But it's not an endless process. Like you in other words, we are at this stage in history, our souls have been here many times. We're just finishing off the little bits and pieces.
So we get a soul like Hitler that does such evil. Can God expunge those souls?
Yeah, that's a different story. A soul of such evil, like evil incarnate, so is just destroyed. There's no hope for such a soul. Somebody who causes evil and does evil on that level, that's a soul that's just destroyed. That's not the type of soul we come across very often. You know, most souls, you know, do a bit of bad, do a bit of good, you know what I mean? But like evil on that level, there's no fixing of that.
But we seem to have a lot of them around. Or maybe not so many, but creating a lot of problems.
Yeah. They're few and far between of that level of evil. But they do exist, and yeah. All right. Thank you very much. We'll continue, please God, next week, same time, same place.
What's next week?
Um,
Sorry.